Bruce Starr's leadership. He continues to be a great leader in this part of Oregon and certainly in this congressional district. It's a pleasure to visit with you while your mouths are full. That way you can't back talk to me. My name is Rob Cornilles. I just would like to also acknowledge my wife Allison, who's here with me. Allison, if you could. We are small business owners, as you probably know, and most of you have heard something that I've said on the stump, as they say. You know why we're running as small business owners, as parents of 3 sons, 2 of whom are in college now, so we are passing the plate in that regard. One of them is still in high school. Our kids have gone up through the public school system in the Tiger Falls School District. But I can tell you that I've been very concerned for a long time that the Oregon that I grew up in and that Allison grew up in is not the same Oregon that will provide our kids with opportunities that allowed us to start a business out of our home, to really dip into our savings account to start that business, and to eventually hire up to 60 people. And give 60 people, and what we like to refer to as 60 families, an opportunity to perhaps have a little better lifestyle, and to do something they enjoy, and to live in the community that they want to live in. And the reason why I feel that this is slowly becoming less of a possibility is obviously there are some state issues, and we have good people like Senator Starr and Representative Lindsay, who's here tonight, who can help us to rectify those situations. But certainly on the national level, we're dealing with a Congress that for the most part doesn't work anymore. They don't know how to sit at a table like we're doing tonight and understand together what the problems are, and with the common good in mind, and with the people back home being their motivation, actually trying to accomplish something worthwhile and beneficial to all of us. My career has forced me to act that way in order for us to grow our business. My clients are all over the country. They come from just about every state in the country. Every major market in this country I've been able to do some business in. And I can tell you, that's a diverse crowd. Whether you're talking about people in New York City, people in Dallas, Texas, people in Los Angeles, or Milwaukee, Wisconsin. You get all kinds of different thoughts, opinions, backgrounds, experiences. And what I think we need in Congress today is someone who knows how to walk into that type of environment, recognize that your ideas may be very, very important to you, but interestingly, their ideas are just as important to them. Find a way that you can bring those ideas together, never sacrificing your principles, never sacrificing what you in your heart know to be right, but finding a way through consensus building to move the situation forward, to fix problems. And so I'm running because we don't have that mindset in Congress today. There's too many games being played. There's too many people, quite frankly, who've grown up in the system, what we call career politicians. I will tell you, I never had the aspiration to be in politics, but I do have a huge ambition to solve problems. And that's why I'm running for Congress. I'm very, very grateful for the people in this room who are supporting my campaign. You know who you are. We've gotten terrific support from you. Yes, we have some very good numbers to show that. We've got terrific endorsements just in the last few days. And I want you to know, your vote is not enough. And one day of volunteerism won't be enough for us to win this election. Granted, I respect my primary opponents, and we'll have a good fight until November 8th, but when the decision is made by the voters, I hope that we will unify and we will recognize what the purpose of our party is. The purpose of our party is to elect people who have our principles, who can represent us and articulate them in a way so that other people want to follow. And if we don't do that as a party, we've missed a terrific opportunity in this open seat. I hope you'll join me. I hope you'll join me tonight. I hope you'll join me tomorrow. And throughout this campaign, this very accelerated campaign, so that we can really make history and improve Northwest Oregon. And I might add, in 2012, will be the first federal election in the entire country. We have an opportunity to send a signal, not only locally, but nationally, if we do this thing right. It happened in New York. It can happen in Oregon. Let's do it together. Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much. we're going to hear from Sean Lindsay. Sean's state representative representing House District 30, which is half of my Senate seats, Hillsborough and North Plains and Points North. Sean Lindsay.
Thanks, Bruce. Great to be here. It's great to follow Rob. He is my choice. He will be a nominee. And I hope that all of us will pray for him as well. He's taken a lot of trash lately, a lot of mud flinging. Let's pray for him so he can bear it up. He's a good, principled man. Now, I'd like to talk about a couple of things. I'm pretty serious, but before I do that, I want to tell you about two people that are missing tonight. That's my wife, Amanda, a lot of you know her, and Katie Ayer. Both are missing. Now, the difference between a Republican woman and a Democrat woman is the following. Amanda and her liberal friend, I won't name names, were walking down the street the other day, and they came upon this homeless person. And Amanda said, hey, you know, let me get your name. Gave him a $20 bill and said, maybe we can help you find work. And the liberal friend was like, oh, that's amazing. That's pretty cool. So they walked down the street a little bit further, ran into another homeless person. And the liberal friend wanted to follow her example. So she says, hey, I'm so-and-so. And she reached into my wife's pocket and took out $20 and gave it to them. And said, there's a welfare line over here, come down there. Sorry, I know that was a lame joke. Man, I had to do something fun. That was painful. Everybody will know I can't tell jokes at all. Anyway, well, thanks for giving me a little bit of smiles. Listen, I'll get to something serious now. Yesterday, I hear someone trash Intel, saying it's about time that Intel starts paying their fair share of taxes so they can pay for some of the infrastructure in the schools that they use. What an audacious statement. My response was, Intel has brought $20 billion to the state of Oregon since 1974. Intel's payroll in Oregon, $1.8 billion, by the way, that we tax. The average salary for Intel, $117,000, that is taxed. Intel has 16,000 employees in Oregon. And by the way, Intel gave $259,000 worth of volunteer effort. That's just Intel. And by the way, for every 10 jobs of Intel, there's 31 others that support Intel. Now, here in this House District 30 that we sit, we celebrate success. We don't denigrate it. And the true difference between a Republican and a Democrat is Democrats think no one should be successful, and Republicans think that everybody should be successful. That is the true difference. Another troubling thing, President Obama, in trying to raise revenue for this nation, is trying desperately to cap the charitable deduction, to cut the charitable deduction. So when we give money to our church, when we give money to Komen Foundation or Special Olympics, we get to deduct that from our taxes, right? He wants to cut that. Is that going to help charitable contributions? No. That's the lifeblood of America, is our charity. And by cutting that, there goes charity. Another thing, last week I was at the Oregon Business Association. Arnie Duncan was there. And he chided. No, he didn't chide. He condemned the state of Oregon for the last 25 years of terrible school system and planning here in Oregon. And he chided big time our complete abject failure in applying for the race to the top. But you know what else he did? He says, by the way, what you guys did this last year, this session, was amazing. You brought true education reform. And I didn't get a chance, but I want to stand up and say, by the way, who presided over Oregon these past 30 years? Democratic governors. What changed in this last election? Republicans. We were the ones that went down there, and we were the ones that brokered education reform. We were the ones under Representative Winger's direction to bring true choice and better provisions to education. Us Republicans, we own education, not the Democrats. We own the education issue, and we need to stand up and do it. There's good things going. We've got excellent new substantive candidates. When Republicans put up substantive candidates, we win. When we come up with specific issues, we win. It's not easy. It is hard. But we sincerely appreciate all the help that you do, you wonderful Republican women. Thank you. Thank you kindly. Thanks for supporting us. And we hope that we can reciprocate in the work that we offer. Thank you.
I just want to remind you, there's still more food, so don't feel bad about standing up and go get some more. There's also some really yummy cookies back there. So if you finish your spaghetti and you got, that hole that's still there in your stomach and that cookie would fill it, there's a plate of cookies back there. So don't feel bad about getting up and filling your plate up again. Next, we're going to hear from Representative Matt Wingard. Matt is part of the leadership team in the House of Representatives and represents Southern Washington County. Matt Wingard. Thank you, Senator.
Boy, I see a lot of familiar faces. It's just, I just want to take a moment to celebrate a few things because, I've been showing up here for a couple of years, and many of you were helpful and supportive in my first campaign in 2008, and we went through the worst personal smear campaign in Oregon history, and got into the legislature, and my gift on that day was to be put into a super minority and have to sit there through an entire session and watch the most extreme agenda that Oregon had ever seen from the left sail right through and get signed by the governor. We've been through a lot. We've been through a lot, all of us, and we all did a gut check, kicked in, rallied the Capitol, rallied downtown, looked around and asked ourselves, what do we have to do to turn this around? And I know I saw a lot of you at those events. I've seen you at fundraisers. I've seen you at phone banks. And boy, what a difference an election makes, right? We had the 2010 election, and we have started to turn this around. What you did, all of that effort that you did mattered. And I want to give you just a sense of that. Okay, so when I sat there, hitting my red button for 6 months in 2009, what did the Democrats do? They passed nearly $2 billion in taxing fee increases. They spent every dime, they obligated every dime that we were projected to have in the budgets, left nothing in an ending fund balance. Nobody running a business would do anything like that. And by the way, while they were doing that, America was losing about 600,000 jobs a month. So it did not take a rocket scientist to figure out that perhaps the revenue projections we were looking at were not going to materialize. And then they cut our schools. They actually cut the budget for our public schools by about $400 million. And then what happened? The revenue projections were not where we were told they were going to be. Revenue was falling, and then we had to do across-the-board budget cuts. In every agency, it didn't matter if it was affecting the vulnerable or our children, everybody got cut because they didn't even have the intestinal fortitude to call themselves back into session and to try to manage the cuts and aim them at the least important elements of government. They just want to come back in, just let the governor do the only thing he's empowered to do, which is across-the-board cuts, which means everything gets cut. DEQ and our public schools get cut the same. That's what happened for 2 years. And then you all went to work. And we picked up 6 seats, which, by the way, no one in the lobby thought we could do. No one. And you all were a part of that. And you put us in a tie, 30-30. And that was it. We didn't have the Senate. We didn't have the governor's mention. We had a 33 tie in the House. And they said, well, congratulations, you'll never make that work. As long as we had Dave Hunt there, it was probably true we weren't going to be able to make that work. But the Democrats got wise and kicked him to the curb and put Arnie Roblin in there, and we had Arnie Roblin and Bruce Hanna, and we made it work with people like Gary, who came on as chief of staff for Kevin, and we did what they said we couldn't do. We survived that whole session without the whole thing breaking down. Okay? We Did not pass a single tax increase, not one. We actually saved businesses nearly $100 million in a tax increase that the Democrats were hoping would kick into effect, and we blocked that and kept that out in the private economy to create jobs. Dennis Richardson, bless his heart, fought for the largest ending fund balance that anybody can remember in Oregon history, $460 million, half of which has already disappeared because the revenue projections are not where they predicted them to be, but that means no budget cuts so far because we kept an ending fund balance, and I suspect that entire ending fund balance is going to disappear, and we are going to have to cut, but, you know, your first $460 million isn't coming out of anybody's budget. And we did not cut public schools. We gave them flat funding. Now that ends up turning into cuts because they're locked into employee contracts. They are unwilling to fight hard to keep flat. And so they've got these automatic adjusters in their budgets that force them ultimately to lay off teachers. But we gave them flat funding. We did not cut them. Which was really, we were cutting almost every other agency in government. So we promised for 10 years that if we got into power, that the thing that should happen is that the first budget that passes the education budget, rather than being held last, so that kids can be held hostage, well, it was the first budget that was passed because we insisted. And it went out in April. And then we weren't finished. We passed the first redistricting plan, legislative and congressional redistricting plan, passed by both houses and signed by the governor in 100 years. And they said we couldn't do that. No one sued. And we weren't finished. We passed the most comprehensive package of education reforms in Oregon history, including the most dramatic increases in choice for parents and students in the state that Oregon has ever seen. Multiple authorizers for charter schools. We took the caps basically off online enrollment so parents can enroll their children in those schools. And we passed what you would recognize as open enrollment in the state of Oregon. Basically, the practice of districts telling parents, no, you can't transfer to another district because your kid is a check for $6,000 to us, not a human being, and we don't want him to go, that is now not legal. They can't say no. The receiving district still has to have space and participate, but the sending district can't say no. And a bunch of other reforms, including reforms of ESDs. All of that was simply a tie in the house. So I'm here with two messages. One is thank you. Don't go home in despair. What we did, the work we've done over the last 3 years has paid off. It made a real difference. It's actually going to make a real difference in children's lives, thousands of them. And second message, we ain't seen nothing yet. We're not done. Are we done? No, we're not done. We're going to fight and pick up more seats and take the House, and I believe the Senate can take the Senate. And we are going to keep on this train, keep on this path that we've already started down of reforming Oregon and getting it back on track and ending this really despicable trend. 15 years ago, per capita income in the state of Oregon was above the national average, and it tracked very closely with Washington State. And then we went in two different directions. And now, 15 years later, Washington State is per capita income is above the national average and moving up and away. And Oregon's per capita income is 9 points below the national average and moving down and away. We're going to turn that around with your help. Thank you very much.
Next, we will hear from Jim Greenfield. Jim is running for Congress in the 1st Congressional District. Jim.
Bruce was talking about how he's glad he's not running for office, and I can relate to that. I'm starting to think you have to be crazy to do this, which explains a lot about some of the people who are in Congress. And, you know, Mayor Richard Daley of Chicago famously said, politics ain't beanbag. And I should be quoting a Democrat, I guess. Some overenthusiastic supporter of Rob Cornilles started slinging the mud recently. And I want you to know, I had a conversation with Rob tonight, person to person, and I'm convinced that Rob had nothing to do with it. I sincerely believe that Rob Cornilles is a very decent, likable guy. I like him a lot. And I don't think he would do that. And I don't think it would make any sense to anyway. But I don't think the Republicans should be slinging mud at other Republicans. Now, I know that some people in the Washington County Republican officials have been unhappy with me because they feel I've been criticizing Rob too much. But I think everybody understands this is an election. And I have made no personal criticisms of Rob Cornilles. All I've done is point out our differences on the issues, the most important issues to Republican voters, such as Obamacare and raising taxes. Now, is there anybody here who doesn't feel it's legitimate to discuss such issues in a primary election? Okay, good. So we agree. And frankly, I'd rather not be talking so much about Rob. I mean, obviously he's the front runner, but I'd rather just be talking about myself, which is my favorite topic and my ideas. But unfortunately, Rob has not been letting Republican voters where he stands on these important issues. Now, some of you may have heard this before, but for those who haven't, I just want to be sure you know, I want the voters to make an informed decision. And I would say that the most important issues to Republican voters are repealing Obamacare and not raising taxes. Would you all agree with that? So how many here think Obamacare is a good law? Nobody? Okay, we agree about that too. How many think that the way to balance the budget is to raise taxes? Anybody think so? Okay, now do you know that 278 Republicans in Congress have signed the ATR, Americans for Tax Reform pledge not to raise taxes? I signed the pledge not to raise taxes. Only 6 Republicans in the House refused to sign the no new tax pledge. I don't understand why Rob won't sign the pledge. I just don't understand it. I've confronted him about this, and he says he doesn't want to sign pledges. But he also says on his website that if the balanced budget passes, it will be necessary to raise taxes. So maybe that's why. Now on Obamacare, not a single Republican in Congress voted for Obamacare. So I signed the pledge promising to vote to repeal Obamacare. Rob has refused to sign the pledge. Why? This is a core Republican issue. And I confronted him about this at another forum. I said, Rob, will you promise to vote to repeal Obamacare? And he said, no. You know why? He said it will be a wasted vote. A wasted vote. Why? Because he says Obama will veto it. Next year, we're having an election. I guarantee you, President Kane will not veto the bill to repeal Obamacare. I'm going to try to get rid of that abomination. So, look, Rob's got the backing of the party establishment. He's got the money. I got the message. If the Republican voters know where Rob stands and where I stand, I'm going to get 90% of the vote. 90% of Republicans will vote for a candidate who's committed to limited government, cutting taxes, not just not raising them. I want to cut them. We got to cut the corporate tax rate so our companies can start making more money and can start hiring people in America again instead of going overseas where the cost of business is lower. You can't force them to do business here. You have to entice them to do business here by giving them incentives. That's how you make the economy grow. I've been a public advocate for more than 20 years of my career as a radio talk host for limited constitutional government, balanced budgets, cutting taxes. I didn't just come to this after the Tea Party discovered these principles. I've always believed in them. I mean, I love the Tea Party, but I got there first. So, my name is Jim Greenfield. It's jimgreenfieldforcongress.com. I am gaining very quickly. I'm still behind, and I'm catching up quickly. Because as I get the message out to Republican voters, they're getting it. jimgreenfieldforcongress.com. Thank you.
Next, we get to hear from Lisa Michaels. Lisa is also